The first topic that these questions are grouped in is basically what was it like to play with an orchestra? And I'd like to kick it off by saying the person kind of responsible for this is the drummer for Kansas. We talked years ago, um, and he said your music would lend itself to orchestrations just like Kansas music does, and a lot of other bands opens you up to different venues, et cetera, et cetera. His name's Phil Ehart. And I will ask Chris the next question, but this was a funny story. I got on the bus and I said, I just had a conversation with Phil. And do any of you guys in Nashville or whatever know somebody that could help us orchestrate and put together some charts? Because I don't have that background or chops at all. And so we could, we'll work with him and pull it together. And Chris said, well, I can do it. I went, you can do it. He said, absolutely. I studied it and I know orchestrations and so on and so forth. So next in line here, I'll ask you the question, Maestro. How did you choose which orchestra you wanted to work with?
Well, I mean, first of all, to follow up on your story, I might have been in a compromised position when you asked that question. Maybe inflated my abilities a little.
Are we gonna have to qualify that statement now too later on?
Not in those compromised positions anymore, but at the time, it's very possible. No, actually, I did have some training in that. Maybe not enough to sweat blood and do what I did that summer, but nevertheless, we embarked on that journey, and we ended up coming with some stuff that seemed to work anyway. And of course, your question was, how do we choose the orchestra? The first orchestra that we did, I think, kind of chose us. Maybe we played with the Augusta Symphony. It was kind of a learning experience. It was our first time to do it, and arrangements like these are definitely kind of an organic process. And I mean, I think we really hit our stride when we started working with this orchestra out of Florida called the Craig Turley Orchestra. He works with a lot of rock bands, and so he kind of knew the routine, and his players really knew how to approach playing with a rock band, because it's a very unique experience. I mean, because you've got a very powerful, a lot of noise on the stage, and violinists who are timid and kind of intimidated by the volume of drums and guitars, don't play very aggressively. And so these guys knew the routine and really did a great job, man. And we've worked with Craig, as you know, a lot through these subsequent years, and used him in small ensembles as well as when you book a big show, because he really invested. He kind of invested in the idea and liked working with us, and so it's a real mutual appreciation kind of thing.
Yeah, those ensembles are featured, I think, virtually on every track.
Yeah, absolutely.
The larger
one reminiscing, and it's real cool to be able to get him plugged into that.
Right. So one of the great things about doing that music and adding orchestra to a couple of our songs that have been recorded more recently than the hits, Rich has a song in the set that is a fantastic heartfelt ballad. So what did it feel like first time you heard Chris's arrangement for I'm an Island?
Well, the first time I heard the arrangement was just Chris's mock-up, which is just synthesized orchestra over the mix of the song without orchestra, and I was knocked out. It was just a really emotional thing. He absolutely nailed it. And then when we get on stage and there's actual strings being played, it was surreal. It was a great moment for me as a writer, and very, very gratifying.
I remember too that we had played that song for fans and whatever previously, and I was blown away as it was happening to watch the jaws open up for people that knew the song already but hadn't heard this yet. and they were just, what's coming, what's happening? Oh my God, that's Island, and they were blown away as well. It's one of the elements of having an orchestra that's
There's
so
a
much
prelude.
fun.
There's a prelude as well as the arrangement over the song. So that's it's a nice moment for the orchestra to play by themselves, and then the song starts and takes it up a whole new level.
Right. So we put these people on stage between us, and it makes for some logistics where Chris has to play his keyboard, sing his parts, but also conduct the orchestra. Ryan is completely on the other opposite side of the stage, and in most instances we put plexiglass between him and the orchestra. So, question for you, Ryan, is how does that affect your style? And I know that there are times when you have to actually literally stand up and count the orchestra in over the plexiglass. How does that? How do you deal with that, through the course of a night? Because it's so much different than being the straightforward, rock band drummer.
Well, first and foremost, it allows me to continue to play, because if I didn't have the plexiglass there, I would probably get a bunch of things thrown at me by every member of the orchestra. The acoustic drums and the ambient sound is obviously too much, up there where it's at. But honestly, the plexiglass doesn't really affect. It doesn't affect my playing at all. I kind of see through. Well, I see through the plexiglass. Yes, I do see through the plexiglass. What I mean is, I don't really see it. It's not there to me. Because when we play with an orchestra, we don't play with it too often, and but when we do, I personally love it. I look forward to those shows. It's a wonderful experience, and I think I pay attention. I probably I shouldn't say this. I pay attention more when I'm with the orchestra, just because I want to soak the experience in.
Hang on. I'll be writing that down.
Okay.
For middle management to
That's sneezing.
assess.
So he's phoning it in on the other gigs.
Right, exactly. That's pay scales will have to be adjusted, I guess. I want to say one thing too. There's a lot of times we're with a small ensemble, but there have been times when we have, like the Columbus, Ohio Symphony was 60 plus pieces. It was really fun to hear you blend with the percussion section, of which a lot of times we don't have one, because I know you studied, and a lot of the things that you studied early on as a percussionist don't get used in the band. So that's
and they were physically placed as far away as possible for whatever reason, and I remember looking over at them across the orchestra, probably 20 yards, 30 yards away, looking over at them, what they were doing. And because there were some really cool things I hadn't heard before, because as you say, we don't have a percussion section like that very often, but that was really cool to interact with them, even though they were kind of far away.
Well, one of them was an old, longtime fan of the band, and it was all we could do to get him off the bus after the show. I mean, he was ready to, where do I sleep?
Yeah.
Last question for Colin. Guitar players usually have, screaming amps on stage and stuff. We don't. It's a clean stage, whatever. What's that like on your in-ears? Because our environments are all different. How did that feel to you in, early on playing with the band? That started pretty quick.
Yeah, so the beauty of being on in-ear monitors, which for those who don't know, it's these little earbuds that we use, and you can ask.
He's got props.
Yeah.
You rock.
Your engineer, which we have a great engineer, he's one of the best in the business. He puts what you want in your ears the way you like it. So you can have things panned and you just hear them. It's like 3D. And so adding the orchestra to that was amazing, because it's like you can put yourself right in the middle of whatever section you want, kind of,
Right.
And so, yeah, I just put myself right in the center and listened to like everybody all around me. And so.
Well, a lot of times you and Rich are playing parts that the orchestra's playing too. So now they're thickened up by
Picking up.
having those real players sawing away back there. It's
We're used to playing against each other like this, and it. I'm kidding. That's all.
All right. No, I'm writing that down. It's going to be a very revealing.
The real pressure working against you, Colin.
But it's really cool. It's very enjoyable. 'Cause I'm my own man. I'm an